want to say thank you to everybody who bought books, which is one really simple and easy way to support a traveling poet, which our State Poet Laureate certainly is. And also to those people that donated to the Poets in Schools program. We really appreciate that. Okay, and I have, she doesn't know this, and maybe Tony, if you could find out if there's anyone in the bar who is wanting to come over, just let them know that we're starting again. And actually, yeah, I was going to, we were going to have an announcement, and so hang in there, Lorraine, but I'm going to wait till we really have everybody here before we make that announcement. I think what I'm going to do as people are coming back in is one member of our Ghost Town community who's not with us tonight but is in the book is George Thomas. So if I can find George's poem, I'm going to read that to you. Alphabetical. It is alphabetical. That really helps. We did that with the Ghost Town anthology, and it helps a lot. Okay, so this is George Thomas, who I affectionately refer to as the Henry Miller of Vancouver, Washington. Legacy. Beneath my sons and me, the ferry shudders in black water. Seattle's hill of lights expands at our approach. 2 days back in a pass in the North Cascades, we'd felt the wind, the peaks above the silence, and winding up to meet us, the Serpent Road. Now my youngest stands spread-legged at the iron bow rail. The wind of passage sprays his hair and whips his jacket. I know he thinks he is the captain of this ship. Night bell of a buoy clangs in the dark around him. His eyes stare into that hill of lights ahead. His frame moves across that face of light, his frame, which moves with the motion of this ship. George Thomas, Vancouver, Washington. And I want to say thank you to Todd Marshall for the Washington 129 project, and really looking forward to seeing the additional online poems that are coming our way. And as soon as we know about them, we will make sure that that the Ghost Town community knows about it as well. And now I'm going to invite a member of the Clark County Arts Commission to come up and make a very important announcement. Please say hello to Lorraine Zawadny.
Thank you, Christopher, and thank you, Todd, for being here tonight. Extraordinary, your words and the work that you have done on a broad level for our state. Phenomenal. And that is the perfect segue to say why I'm here. We are accepting applications. By we, I mean the Clark County Arts Commission, of which I am one of 10. We're calling for applications for the Clark County Poet Laureate, and Christopher, of course, has been our Clark County Poet Laureate since 2013, doing phenomenal work, absolutely phenomenal. But we need a new one. He needs a break. He needs to move on, and so we are hoping that we get a lot of applications, or some applications, and perhaps if it's not you, perhaps you know someone who could be encouraged to apply for this. I have applications here, and also some postcards with the details about how to apply. The really critical thing is to know that, to encourage people to know that this particular position has some expectations. For example, you have to reside in Clark County, and you have to have at least 5 years of experience as a practicing poet. You have to understand and have a working understanding of contemporary poetry, practicing, and a working knowledge of the concepts as well. So I think everyone here probably has that. Really, you are an audience and you are participants. I thank you for your voices today. It's so enriching. Other requirements are that you would be engaged in the poetry community in Clark County, which is pretty obvious too, and have at least one published book or chapbook of poetry. It's a 2-year term, and all the details of what you would be expected to do are included on this call for entry. So I truly encourage people to think about perhaps applying, or do you know someone who you think would make a great poet laureate for our county? Really important work. The voices that I have heard today, we are all enriched by each other's voices. And so I can't say more passionately how important this kind of position is. So please take to heart thinking seriously whether you might be a candidate to apply, or perhaps you know someone, and please take the time to encourage them. The deadline for application is November 1st. And then Annie, was it November 15 that it would be not announced, but the decision would be made by that time. So it's coming up pretty quick. So thank you for your time. I appreciate so much. I think if anyone would like to take one,
We're totally passing them out.
Yeah,
Who wants to read it?
we really want to encourage. So
You're not obligated.
Is there a way to share that digitally?
yes, it's
Yeah, it's on. You can look it up on the Arts of Clark County website.
Okay.
If you would like more paper to take on.
anybody
Anybody else be interested?
pass on to another person, or have a place that this kind of information might be broadly shared if you have a voice in some community, another poetry reading. Okay, well, keep in mind, and it would be available on Arts of Clark County website as well, the link to this information if you think about something later. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to say thank you to Lorraine and Annie Davern, two of the newer members of the Clark County Arts Commission, and also just to say thank you to the commission itself for, which is really a small grassroots all volunteer organization, for all the support that they've shown me since putting me into the position of Clark County Poet Laureate. So, and one of the things that's really exciting about Clark County Arts Commission is all the members of the commission are active artists from different towns throughout the county. So it's just been really exciting to watch that organization grow and to go to the different events in places like Washougal and other places where exciting things are happening around the county, and see the good work that these people do in their towns as well. So really thank you to all of you in the Clark County Arts Commission for the support you've shown for me and our programs. Okay, so now we're gonna jump back into the open mic, and the first person on the open mic for the second half is Greg Bye. So give him a warm welcome.
Let's see, can you hear me? I'd like to begin with a revision of a poem I read the last time I was here in August, in memory of Scott Kelman, rendered in traditional behind the podium style. I really don't care about Teresa of Avila, or Scott Kelman for that matter. I do care about the performance you prepared, because you care about them. There are no do-overs in improv. This is not therapy. It is you and your performance. Deliberation. Check it out. Find the space to create. Empathy. Yield. Do not act on your first thought. When you move, the process starts again. Check it out. Find space to create. Empathy. Yield. Have all the thoughts you want. Don't act on your first one. Sound and movement. Bah, bah, bah. Find your center. Bah. Riff. The way we generate script, dialogue and narrative. Energy and rhythm, think jazz. Generate poetry. To teach, to delight, to move. Pretty words strung together. Images fall out. Generate rhythms. Images emerge. Word begets image. Poetry emerge. Poetry, poetry. Don't fear the words. Generate the rhythms. Images emerge. Behold the rhythms. Performance emerge. Yeah. Now I'd like to read a couple of poems by two local women poets, and local meaning Portland. One ancient and one still very much with us. The ancient one is Hazel Hall, who I'm sure most of you are somewhat familiar with. An invalid confined to a second-story room of a house in northwest Portland, who wrote poems about her needlework, the people who walked the streets below her home on 52 Lucretia Street, and her existential condition. Here is a brief introduction to Hall's selected poems written by Beth Bentley. Hazel Hall's lifespan, 1886 to 1924, places her in a group named Interim Poets by Zatorenska and Gregory in their history of American poetry from 1900 to 1940. Such poets as Lizette Woodworth Reese, Adelaide Crapsey, Louise Grenet, and Sarah Tisdale fall into this category. Sometimes called Georgians, these poets wrote in traditional modes, heavily dependent on quatrains and hymn book metrics. But even though Hall's poetry places her among these refined and somewhat limited poets, her subject matter, strength of character, and realism advance her into more modern company. Faced with the realities of illness, pain, poverty, and loneliness, Hall responded not with the sentimentality typical of her generation, but with irony and detachment. She succumbed neither to the easy optimism and religious bromides of the Georgians, nor to the more sophisticated and often heavy-handed worldliness of such poets as Eleanor Wiley and Edna St. Vincent Millay. And this is the first edition book. This is called For a Woman Grown Cold. Far as near things are when sleep blows over you like blackened sand, is the hot pain you thought to keep warm against your hand. Grief left you colorless as stone. You lie beneath night's splintering wave, that once you broke your heart upon, dispassionate as in a grave. You rise to face the sun and toss the pleasure of it from your eyes, nor will you think of dawn across your mouth sweet with other skies. You feel your thin blood pulsing where it moves unheededly as rain, content to find the chill breath there, cold is easier than pain. Okay, and the modern local woman poet is Carol Trevor. A published poet, Carol is also a visual artist who taught for several years at Portland Community College. Such subjects as paste-up and the other graphic arts. And full disclosure, Carol is my aunt. My childhood memories are filled with fun times visiting her and her family at the house on 36th and Washington in the Belmont neighborhood. Lots of fun for all the siblings, cousins, and neighbor kids. Quite often I would leave with my face painted like a vaudeville performer. And most of all, and it was great food as she's a marvelous cook, and most of all I remember stories about Carol and her family back in England during World War II. Everyone in the air raid shelter. Everyone except Uncle Jim, who was a home defense bomb monitor. He'd stay outside and chart where the bombs landed. Except once, when a bomb landed very close and he dove headfirst into the shelter among everyone else. Okay, and this one's called View from Below, Carol Trevor. When my child world was filled with lesser fantasies and hope, my mother was the magician who could make the serpents I wrestled release their hold on me. I learned well, that even last year's doll can be transformed through the miracle of different colored wigs, black and blonde, a new dress sewn of multi-layered white muslin, trimmed with velvet ribbon. Everything of concern in our universe she could fix, except father. Even mother's magic had its limits. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Greg. I think a lot about how our, we have to write our own cultural history, and we have to keep our cultural history alive. We can't count on other people noticing or doing those things, and so I really appreciate that you read those poems by those other folks and just got those names out into the air. I didn't really know about Hazel Hall, so thank you so much for doing that on their behalf and for our benefit. I appreciate it. Okay, and next we are going to hear from Christine Lamb White. Welcome her to the Ghost Town Poetry. Welcome her.
Okay, how's that?
Awesome.
Hey, everybody. Good to be here. I wrote this morning in Starbucks. I was angry.
Yes.
There's a witch in my soup. When I sip, I'll be duped. At the bottom, she lays that last bite of my day. You can tell her your truth. Coughs you up with her croops of lies with green eyes, the dark actress of disguise. Sweetly summons, oh, do tell, don't go down that deep well. Sugar-sweet smile of death, rising up screams of wrath. Tastes so good for a short while, till the poison of her bile attacks your lips and coats your white teeth. You're her hostage, her spirit streaks. As she sucks the life right out of your soul, be leery now of what's in your bowl. This one is quite controversial, and in my women's writing group, another fine poet decided to write a sequel to it. But this is the first one. Anyway, it's called The Bread Man Cometh. I have a phallus in my backpack. Oh, don't get so uppity, it's just a loaf of bread. Yet the end of it, quite splendidly, resembles similarities to a male's anatomy. I was attracted right away at the Saturday Market's bakery. As I carried it in my hands, the loaf so firm, I exclaimed, "My lands!" I transferred it to my backpack. It's bobbing up and down. I could barely believe what I see peripherally. Oh my, what a treasure I'd found. The masculine symbol had been showing up in dreams, and the fact I found it, waiting in the outer world, not so unusual as it seems, don't doubt it. I think I'll have a special ceremony for the yearning this stimulates in me. I feel my thoughts of desiring men is just this close to becoming a reality. The bread stands tall in noonday sun upon the passenger's seat. My hot and steamy friend soon to become my 2-foot sensual feast. It's Sunday afternoon. I'm plagued with thoughts that croon that I've been celibate much too long. A solution I need, is that so wrong? Yet in my fantasy, I'm free to be in heat. Oh, breadly man, come close. Thank God I'll make this toast. Oh, breadly man, I know that soon, with bread and butter spread festooned, within my body I shall partake. A mast of pleasure we will make.
Thank you, Christine. And next we're going to hear from Ian Caton. Come on up.
Yeah, brother. Go on front row seat.
Hey, everybody.
Yes.
I'm going to start off with a sonnet. It's called All Things Must Pass. Deja vu was in the news again as famed theoretical physicist and futurist Michio Kaku considered the phenomenon as evidence of a multiverse, citing string theory and the billions of inclinations mixed with the reality of imagination, and the deep sorrow and sadness echoing from a loss in our collective consciousness, while proving Maharishi Mahesh Yogi correct as he inspired the young George Harrison to remind us that all things must pass, the first shall be last.
Yeah.
I said past last. I screwed up the rhyme at the end,
All
so I
right.
apologize. All things must pass, the first shall be last. I got a little bit of cotton mouth going on right now. I should probably drink some water, but I don't have any, so that's all right. But I'm a little nervous too. I'm in the presence of the poet laureate of Washington State, so.
All right.
Or the Riddler tonight. I think tonight you're dressed as the Riddler, ready for Halloween. This one's called Thrive. I wrote it a year ago, and I'm trying. Well, I thought it a year ago at a Yob show at the Hawthorne Theater last year in November of 2016. And so I think November of 2016, watching Yob after the elections as kind of an inspirational thing. So there's a preface for this piece. It reads, "This piece is not complete. I mentioned scar tissue, but I never get into talking about how the scar tissue acts like a cocoon to cover the old thing and have this new thing emerge like an ugly moth." So here it is. It's called Thrive version 1.2. There is a new economy growing that has cut a wedge into the old economy. This new economy has excised a void, exposing a chasm that is expanding to be replaced with scar tissue. There is no buy-in with this new economy. It slices through like a hatchet into sine waves. Generated from our present situation, it disrupts the currents. Sprouting leaks and buy-offs, entire communities attempting to escape on life rafts, floating off into multitudinal directions with their liberal arts degrees and their understanding of existing conditions, landslides of cars and automobiles falling from mountaintops, caked in mud and debris, zeros and ones, canyons filled with algorithms of purchasing decisions and best practices, yeses and nos, more ones and zeros, black and white, up and downs, liberal or conservative, Democrat or Republican. This new economy has no party affiliation, influencing currencies around the world. This new economy cannot be measured in US dollars or euros or compared with exchange rates, e-money, Bitcoin, digital currency, or cyber cash. It will envelope and overtake the British pound and the Swiss franc, and we'll see the collapse of the Russian ruble and the Japanese yen. This new economy is urgent. It does not wait for holidays. It is not patient. It does not take weekends off. This new economy is fatal. It is of ideas. And then this one, oh, I got water coming my way. That's sweet. All right, this one's called The Interview. I am interviewing in front of a panel of people who look like my mother, judging me. I am interviewing for a position to teach children how to write effectively and read critically, asking questions that may not even have an answer. I am interviewing for a 7th grade humanities position in front of a panel of gray-haired ladies who look at me over their noses from cheater glasses as they wonder why I have been subbing for 3 years now. Maybe one will be a man. He would be the principal. I am interviewing for a position so I can teach children how to write and read and read and read and read. I am interviewing for a position so I can teach 7th graders from an area composed mostly of white apostolic Lutherans who make their sons wear cowboy boots and their daughters wear homemade dresses passed down from sibling to sibling, generation to generation, who read mostly Louis L'Amour novels, The panel will be looking for someone younger and cuter than me, and I know I probably won't land the job anyway, but it would be great if I did. I'm interviewing for a job I know I probably won't get. Thank you.
The song reading that we're gonna do.
Oh, yeah.
Song reading.
Yeah, it's called Summer.
Do you remember the date?
Oh, it's November 20th?
Okay.
15th? That's on there.
So neither one of us knows.
Do you want me to look it up?
Anyway, I'm excited because Ian and I are sharing the bill at an event in Portland called Songbook, put on by a guy named Adam Strong, where you were asked to write a poem based on a song, and they play the song on stage before you read the poem or the story about how this song, was important to your life or had some kind
And how it
of
inspires you.
Yeah.
Yes, the song I'm picking is White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane.
All right, good song.
So we're bad featured readers. You should never do this. We're not exactly sure of the date or where it is. Does anybody know where Songbook happens? Did anyone out there?
Post 134.
Post 134. How could I forget
Alberta
that?
Street.
Alberta Street. Post 134 is amazing. There are like 7 different literary events that are happening there right now on a regular basis, plus all the stuff that Post 134 does for the community. So now we've got another piece of the puzzle, and the only other one we need is which day in November. But stay tuned, and we'll let you know when that is. And if you didn't know this about my friend Ian has a really great book of poems called The Creative Records. There's a lot of poems about rock and roll and music in there, and I very happily wrote a blurb for the book because it's good. So you should talk to him about his book. Okay, and I may get this wrong, but I'm going to do my best. Is there someone out there named Finian? Does that sound... Did I say it correctly?
It's Fran.
Finian, excuse me. Please say hello to Finian and forgive me.
Okay, so I'm very awkward with talking and I slur my speech a lot, so I apologize in advance. No, it's okay. Thank you. This first poem, okay. This first poem is not by me, but I was asked to perform it by a friend. So I guess here goes nothing. It all started with closed eyes and a feeling in my gut telling me I needed to keep them shut the whole time. Because if they opened even for a second and I saw your lips, they'd suck me in like a black hole when they bend to light. And it was then I realized you were not my world. You were my universe. Sometimes when I look up, I see stars that cut through the sky and fade quickly into nothingness, and I pray that you aren't as fleeting, because when we're lying in roads, I get the same feeling that gravity will turn off and I'll just fall endlessly. It is something much larger than I am, and I wonder what it feels like to die, and I wonder if I'll ever understand God in my lifespan, because I want to see God. I want to know what God feels like. But with the weight of the Bible, I will break Adam's ribs and repeat, my dear Eve, you do not take after this. You were not made in a man's image. But if that's the case, why do you feel so lost in an empty space that his hand isn't? Why do I wait, wondering how long it'll take you to admit it? I'd rather keep my mouth shut than start to say what I can't finish because I have limits. I'm singing la, la, la in empty rooms that carry sounds like hollow caves. La, 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 just to prove that you're not the only one who can occupy a borrowed space. La, 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 for every ship that was set to sail but got washed away. I'm singing la, la, la in desperate hopes that when it bounces back I can hear the octave change. So if we could just pretend that your voice exists inside this empty void within, then holy shit, insomnia might loosen its wholesome grip on my throat, and I could begin to forgive you for admitting the hoax instead of learning to hate you for every minute you don't, because I sit here wondering if anything you said was true, and who it was that taught you to speak bullets without considering the exit wound. Tell me who, because I still think back to the first time you called me with nothing to say, that morning when you noticed you were more than just my friend, and we both noticed something had changed. You drove to your parents' house and we talked about everything. We talked about how much it sucked, but no matter what, we had to remain nothing. And in that deafening silence, I asked if I could still call you my snowflake, and you said okay.
Yeah.
And I have one more. It's about like transgender stuff because hi, I'm a trans boy. It's fun. It's great. It's a great life. I promise. It's called A Boy. I wear the same clothes as you, boxers or briefs, to discover the disgusting set of genitals that I have. Men's shirt don't have curved seams that show off the curves that were never supposed to be there, and I'm not one of you. I want the same hormones as you that you were given in your youth. Your body produces it and mine doesn't, and I'm not one of you. I eat the same food as you, trying to lose weight, but at the same time somehow gain muscle, but my medication doesn't allow that, and I'm still not one of you. I walk the same path as you. Okay, maybe that was a bit of a lie, but I don't walk the same path as you because I desperately want to be one of you. Baggy clothes to hide my shame, or just to cover some sort of curves that I might or might not have, just to maybe fit in, or lowering my voice when I'm in public, and just to try to represent myself a little bit more like you do. But Mrs. is all I'm called. I don't play sports because my body won't allow it, and I don't watch football because it bores me. I don't drink beer because it can kill me, because, allergies. And I don't play video games because my thumbs lack that kind of dexterity. And I don't buy name brands because I can't afford it. I don't have a girlfriend because that you could call me a lesbian. So I ask you please, maybe just one day you could leave me be unless you find the decency to respect me.
Yeah. Good job.
Yes, 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 Finian. Thank you, Finian. I hope that was a good experience for you, and I really want to say that I enjoyed it, and I hope you come back. Hope that you'll come and do it again. Thank you. And do you mind if I ask? I know it's your first time here. Was that your first time doing it ever?
Kind of.
Kind of, sort of?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for doing it here with us. First time here. We're happy to have you. And and I've been doing it for like a couple of decades now, and it's still scary. I mean, every time you get up here, it's scary. So, props to you for pushing through it and doing it anyway. And you saw the kind of reaction you got. So yes, you can do this, folks, and not and still be okay after. You'll be all right. Okay, and now please welcome. I think also for the first time, Olive. Come on up, Olive.
Okay. Can you guys hear me? I'm always really awkward talking in the microphone.
Perfect.
All right. So this first one, is called Drowning. Beneath the water, the silence sparkles, clear and still, shimmering like morning before the noise has polluted the air. Beneath the water, I can see my thoughts as they float away in bubbles, drifting off to pop unseen like a child's dream forgotten once they awake. Beneath the water, I can empty myself. The water won't betray my chest. I can unfill my heart as I deflate my lungs and spill out my rotting guts. Beneath the water, I can drift away, and my mind will no longer bother me as my lungs slowly decay. Beneath the water, finally, death and I hand in hand, bloated purple and smiling, I can be free again. And then the second one I wrote today in math class because I was not paying attention at all. I was frustrated at the moment, as this will entail. I get mad. Mad at my friends who spout their weekend plans, mad at the people walking hand in hand, mad because they have their partners on tap while I wait and plan. And I call her every day, I do. This distance cannot tear us apart, but it's tearing me in two. And I get mad because I want her by my side, her hand placed gently in mine to replace this phone screen she smiles at me from. Frozen images cannot compare to her actually being there. And my friends ask me what's wrong as a tear falls down my face. For she sends me such cute messages, things I wish she would say face to face. And I read these messages and I don't know what to say. But I do know that I miss her every day. Her smile, her laugh, the way she'd fix my hair. Our car rides that we knew would lead to nowhere. And the feelings of joy that overwhelm my heart. And one day, soon I plead, I'll see her again and hold her close to me. And for that reason I keep on and I wake up every day, because this rant can be summed up so easily, for all I have to say is I love her so much, and I try every day to just be something that she would want to see, even though she's 4 hours away.
Okay.
Doing great.
Thank you, Olive. Where are you?
They had to go, but
Okay, do you know how they heard about it?
I didn't get to talk to them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm always curious when people come for the first time, you know, where did you hear it? In the newspaper, from... Oh, there we go. I'll catch them next time. You can go ask them.
Hey, how did you guys hear that?
They heard about Ghost Town from their teacher, Michael Drescher.
Michael?
Yoshio Drescher, he's at Fort.
Oh, at Fort. Okay, cool. All right, that's great, because really we want to get the word out, and we're really serious when we say all ages and uncensored. And it's great when you have young people come, and we've had young people all the way 3, 4, 5, 6, and watch them grow over time, and it's fascinating and wonderful, and I want more of it. So, okay, so I'm going to, we're going to go on with the open mic. I'd like to read one of mine that I wrote a little while back, because I'm really struck by all the fires. It's so distressing to me, and it's one of those things that feel so uncontrollable, so that the land and the people on the land and the structures and the trees and the wildlife are all at the mercy of these flames, and that stopping them from growing seems almost impossible at times. And we had the fire in Eagle Creek this summer, and all of the smoke, and it was so distressing to me that that fire just kept growing and growing and felt so out of control. And now the fires in Northern California. And I grew up and came into my own in California, from New York to California, and then up here. So I have love for those three places, for the Pacific Northwest, for my time in California, and for my time in New York. And I have a real passion in my heart. When I was watching the flames, I was holding back the tears and thinking, oh my God, you know, what do you do? And we have friends that have lost everything in the last few days, and it's very distressing. So this is called Old Highway 1. And I don't know how many of you have driven that highway. I've driven it again and again and again. And so, Old Highway 1. We creep along cliff edges north, past smooth hills rounded like tan hips on Cali girls. The sun hot on my thighs, windows down. I drive, you write, doze, snore. We talk politics, laugh till it hurts, give thanks for our good fortune. We creep round another bend, then stay silent for 5 miles, witness charred hills that touch the sea, so much damage by fire, wild and windblown. Who can stop these unnatural human mistakes, bruises to the earth's skin? We are her children, proud of progress, oblivious to responsibility. Trees all black, sideways, fallen angels splayed like the dead at Dien Bien Phu, yet this is Malibu, Monterey, Mendocino, Brookings, Baker City sisters forsaken by greed and indifference. Nobody thinks their life will go the way of the California golden bear, extinct since 1922, the year your father was born. He's gone now too, distressed by changes along his coastline. Or the sage grouse, almost extinct, left with a heart full of disappointment, and we
still able to stop the madness. Years of choosing this over that. So we reverse course, drive south or east, pass signs that drop below tolerable. We ignore the evidence, hold on to ideals of perfection, demand untainted water and untarnished air. Look to find anything that provides a reprieve from doubt, a poultice on the sad truths of a sick planet, abandoned like the hopes and dreams of my youth.
Yeah.